यहाँ रैप अप करने के लिए मैं एडवोकेट वीना गौड़ा को बोल रही हूँ। वीना गौड़ा बम्बई में हाई कोर्ट में और फैमिली कोर्ट में प्रैक्टिस करती है। वो पीयूसीएल की भी मेंबर है। उन्होंने सर्वाइवर ऑफ जेंडर वायलेंस और डिफेंस ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स के ऊपर काफी काम किया है। वीना गौड़ा।
But I must say this was an extremely enriching presentations, and I think very balanced, very reasoned, because as soon as the criminal law reform amendment was announced and the committee was announced, I think that we were in very in very contentious positions of whether to oppose it, whether to participate, and whether not to participate. And it's really nice to see how all of us have moved a little beyond that and are working from different positions. I think all the three speakers highlighted what problems with the committee is, which I think many of us have been discussing for a very long time, on its representation of communities as well as experience of not having lawyers, etc. But actually going through their experience of having replied to the questions, I think also threw much more light on what the objective of the committee seems to have been. And what is also was also very interesting was it's not only in the questions that actually were asked that you see the intent or you see the objections or problems of the questionnaire, but also in the silences and absence of it. And like Vijay said, I mean, Vijay somewhere said that it's not very direct that draconian principles or laws are intending to be introduced, but one must be cautious of the procedures that that this committee through its questions seems to be wanting to dilute. And as all of us know that in criminal law, I think the procedural aspect of it and the foundational principles of criminal law are extremely important, and many of them have been evolved through constant struggles, through judgments, etc., and cannot in such a summary discussion be diluted. But I think while there was no kind of a anxiety or a panic button that was pressed, there was a constantly we've been told that there are several aspects of it which is very problematic. For example, the attempt to kind of bring in the concept of strict liability, where to a certain extent, which is actually till now available only for very minor offenses like food adulteration, etc., where you just prove the act and there is no need to prove that the intention of that act was there. But starting the entire questionnaire with that kind of sets a path for us to see where the committee wants to head. And strict liability is extremely, extreme, not only problematic, but extremely dangerous. And to a certain extent, like Rebecca said, it has already been brought into UAPA, etc., which has resulted in shifting a burden of proof, where the basic principles that you are innocent till proven guilty has been compromised and diluted, and it's been turned on its head to say that you're guilty till you are proven innocent, which is very dangerous. I mean, basically any changes in the criminal law is also a change in relationship between the powers of the state and that of the individual accused. So one needs to be constantly cautious of what suggestions that we make that doesn't end up strengthening the state, though it may be maybe from point of view of the woman or the weaker marginalized section. And I think it was very interesting that Vrinda also actually cautioned feminists to say that what we look at is not merely violence against women, but of power structures and accumulation of power, and that we have to be conscious that anything that one recommends should not amount to strengthening of the state power. In addition to that, the very fact that that while the committee may seem to be taking a very modern step forward in relooking at evidence, etc., like forensic evidence, wanting to bring in expert evidence, how do we look at voice recording, cell phones, etc., which is very often used in litigation these days in trial courts, etc. But the fact that that we don't have enough infrastructure, and what Rebecca said, that we have 40 forensic laboratories. Even now, for something as small, I mean, we send we send samples for DNA collection, etc. It takes months for it to actually come back from these laboratories, and therefore making these changes would would not stand the test of conventional criminal law. And I think we must keep in mind the suggestion of Vrinda, that maybe it is we should be actually giving them alternative questions, and saying what is the path that this questionnaire ought to have taken. And we also need to be cautious, like they said, that that very progressive question seems to be asked in a very innocuous way, which actually fundamentally take away basic protections under the criminal law. While to a certain extent I might not necessarily agree with Vijay when he says that certain suggestions are shifting the onus on the victim by asking if the victim needs representation of lawyers, etc. I think that has been the demand of many of women's rights activists, to say that in cases of violence against women or sexual assault, etc., that a woman's the survivor's participation in the trial must be much more. But however, I do appreciate his fear that this could result in longer proceedings, in delay, and sometimes, of course, affecting the nature of the judgment itself, which then actually leads us to show that this kind of a broad amendments ought not to be made in criminal law, and maybe we ought to have looked at more piecemeal amendments and changes in the law. And such a broad framework would be not only detrimental but extremely dangerous to the criminal structure that we have, and very many hard-fought battles that we have won.